Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of the Game Day Mindset, the podcast where we dive into the habits, mindset, and behind the scenes stories that fuel success in fitness, business, and life. I'm your host, Jarrett. And before we jump in, I want to remind everyone what this show is all about. The Game Day Mindset isn't just for athletes, it's for anyone showing up every day to be better than they were yesterday. It's about preparation, pressure, progress, and how we push through the moments that matter most. Today's guest is a perfect way to kick things off. Wes Simon is a former fitness professional who took the leap into gym ownership and has built something more than just a workout space. It's a community, a culture, and a reflection of everything this show stands for. Wes Simon, welcome to the podcast. All right. You can hear me
Thanks
okay,
for having me.
Wes?
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay. So let's just jump in and give me a little background on just yourself, how you got into being a fitness professional, and then what made you, what kind of inspired you to taking that leap into gym ownership.
Yeah. Well, from a young age, I've always just done some sort of like physical activity, right? My parents got divorced when I was about 5 years old, and I gravitated towards basketball because it was one of those things I could do by myself. And, from a young age, you didn't really understand what was going on, but, you understood that like physically exerting yourself, it's therapeutic, and it's great for your mental health along with a number of other things, as you know. But so, from a young age, I kind of naturally gravitated towards sports and things like that. And then whenever I was turned 16, a bunch of the upperclassmen on the football team, on the varsity team, they I was pretty good at football, so they invited me to work out with their trainer at the time, and I ended up basically telling them, I said, "Hey, man, I would love to train with you, but I can't pay you. I need money. I need a job." So they gave me a job as the towel boy. And I, started out as the lowest man on the totem pole and was washing dirty towels and picking up after people, and you know, kind of got to see the ins and outs of a gym and how it works. And I fell in love with it right away. I realized, like you said, it's more than just a place to work out. It's a community. It's a safe haven for people that are going through stress in their life, like we all do. And so it literally saves. And I recognized the power of that from a very young age. I wanted to have something like that on my own that I could share with other people. So from that, I went and played some small college football, and I came back and started working full time while I was going to school part time. And then I realized like this is really what I want to do. And I got a job as a gym here in Houston as a manager, and then basically decided to open up my own gym in River Oaks in Houston, and we found success. But then I realized that my business partner at the time and I were not a good partnership, and so we went our separate ways. And I opened up the gym I'm at now, Oak Fitness, and it's everything I could have dreamed of and more. And that's where you and I've met, and
Yeah.
I've you know, got certified as a nutritionist, done 25 bodybuilding shows all over the country. One shows in California, Florida, Texas. Done pro qualifying shows and competed against, big name guys. And it was a very very cool experience. And, you learned a lot about the behind the scenes of bodybuilding, both good and bad. And so it was a great it was a great way to be able to expand my knowledge. And I had a phone call yesterday with the guy who wants to do his very first bodybuilding show. He transitioned from powerlifting to bodybuilding, and he one of the reasons why he wanted to talk with me is because he felt like I was going to make sure that he stays safe as well as reach his goals. as a natural bodybuilder. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you know, I've been to a lot of gyms in my life. I've worked out a lot, a lot of different gyms all around the country. And when you walk into certain gyms, you know it's a community. Some gyms you just know it's a community element. And I walked into Oak Fitness. I was brought there by a colleague of mine. Said, "Hey, man, you need to go talk to Wes. He's not far from where you are, and go talk to him." And you just know immediately, and it's now you have everybody else operating as you do, but you could tell it's because you're there, right? Just the way you interact with people, how you every man or woman walks in the door, you call them by their name, give them a handshake. What are you working on today? How's your day been? It really is a great place. So that's because of you and your personality. So it's really really really
Thank you, brother.
well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what is something you said the good and bad of bodybuilding and fitness shows? You don't have to pull out skeletons or throw anybody under the bus, but what's one thing you would say is a good thing, and one thing that you would say might be a bad thing of that business?
Well, I think it really depends on the person going into it, and where you're coming from and what your goal is. Food, food is very psychological, and I think a lot of people have an unhealthy relationship with food before they start something like trying to do a physique show. And if you have that unhealthy relationship, that's only going to get compounded because you'll be restrictive and deprive yourself of these things that you probably love to eat or drink, and you deprive yourself for X amount of weeks, months, and if you don't have a healthy relationship with food and develop that, or understand like some of the basic nutritional principles and why you shouldn't do certain things, when you get done with that duration of time that you were restrictive and dieted, usually people go off the deep end and they'll gain 20 more pounds than when they started, and it can end up being very bad. But on the flip side, if someone makes an effort to, like I've tried to do, and learn along the way and understand, like, okay, why you shouldn't do certain things, then it can be something that it's a catalyst to help you be more fit, right?
Yeah,
So that's the a big one. Another few things I feel like that can be, a detriment to people, is if someone is competing and there's no thought process in longevity. It's very short sighted. Those people are going to be willing to do just about anything to win that that event, with little regard to you know being healthy long term. And so you have people that can be like that, and they hurt themselves, in the process. And I think we think of examples of that throughout the history of bodybuilding, that we kind of know people that have passed away from a young age because of it.
yeah, very true. I want to pick on the food element you talked about, because you mentioned this in the gym a lot of times. As we've talked to folks together just about some of the things they're doing, and you mentioned it's funny the way you say it. Hey, I want you to track your food, but I want you to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
you know, you're like 4 days you're doing great, and 3 days you're kind of off the wagon. Let's just be honest with ourselves to know where we have to adjust. So I don't know if there's something you want to add to that element about how we look at the food we eat every day.
Yeah, well, I think, man, I mean, what's interesting, right? The people that I find are the most successful with, reaching their physique goals are the ones that are hypercritical of what they do, right? And you have the people that seem to be in the other end of the spectrum, that's they're in denial about what it is they're doing or not doing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of to what you just mentioned, like, you have the Monday through Thursday. If someone has a standard, Monday through Friday, 40-hour work week, you know, you have the Monday through Thursday where they probably eat very consistent for maybe 3.5 days, and then Thursday night, a lot of people go to happy hour, and it can just kind of carry on through the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's also true with people that go to the gym. I think a lot of people Monday through Wednesday, they go work out, and they may go on Saturday, maybe. But people will track, like a Monday, Tuesday, like, oh yeah, I'm not doing bad. These are my macros, and it's like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
those are your macros on a good day. You're only as good as your weakest link. So, I had a guy that I was helping.
Yeah.
The guy was fit. He was. It was cool because he had an objective goal of doing a marathon, and he had a friend of his that was like very very gifted at it. And he was trying to compete with his buddy, and he was really frustrated because he wasn't as lean as the guy, and his time. He wasn't progressing his times as fast as he had liked. And like I just told you, it's like, hey, man, track all your stuff, but I don't care. But you should, for yourself, if you really want to reach this goal, you should care and track every day.
Yeah.
He goes, okay. And so he's like, well, I have a pretty good idea. It's like, well, just do me a favor, do it for 7 days, be honest. And so
Write it down.
he comes back, and I didn't realize on Saturday night, I you eat like snacks on queso and all this stuff, and it's like, and then on Sunday, like he would end up drinking a few beers. It's like, well, yeah, bro, like so add that in and then divide it by seven, and see
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you are. And it changed a lot, and so that was very eye opening for him, and you know that self accountability had to happen to where he saw it, made the adjustment, and then sure enough, after a couple months of him making those slight adjustments, he started seeing great results.
Well, they always say you can't outwork your diet, right? You can't outwork your diet, and that small amount of queso and chips has the same caloric intake as probably your first two meals of the day. Half the time. So and you're like, I just only ate a little bit. It wasn't a big deal. And the two beers, and it's.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Like we all been there.
Yeah, well, the fat's the most dense macronutrient. There's 9 calories per gram in fat.
Yeah.
So, it's real easy if you catch yourself like munching on nuts or nut butters or queso or guacamole. It's a great way to freaking jack up your calories. Same thing with salad dressing. You know what I mean? But a lot of people they kind of have this like notion like, oh, well, I ate a salad. And it's like, dude, well, you poured freaking 4 ounces of ranch dressing on it. it's, so it's like, yeah, you had a salad like covered in ranch dressing.
That's good.
So yeah, it's a way if you're not mindful to really lose control of that caloric deficit. Because the goal you're trying to lean down is maintaining a caloric deficit, right? And so
Yeah.
if you're doing great eating your diet on a Monday and then you're lifting weights, it's like, okay, well, you're probably going to be in that caloric deficit. But if Friday rolls around and you didn't work out that day, and then you maybe ate or drank a few extra stuff, well, now you're probably in a surplus. So it's knowledge is power. The more I always
Yeah.
tell people, the more baseline data that you have and that the more self accountability that creates. Because at the end of the day, the person that sees the best results from my experience are the people that are aware of what exactly those little details are.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Side question: you mentioned something earlier, and it made me. Since you're a gym owner, I wanted to. Do, does the gym community have a phrase for the? All right, look, I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but we all start the year with the best intentions, right? And you have this mass entrance of people coming into the gym at the beginning of the
Yeah,
year, and by March, it's half empty or whatever. And
yeah, that
me and my son always crack up when we go in on January 5th, and we're like, oh man, there's no machines open, there's nothing. He's like, I've never seen half these people before, but then they're all gone. Is there a term for that group of people?
I think there's a lot of terms, but I think the most common term is like the new me, new. What is it? New me,
New year, new me, or
new
something, or
me. Yeah.
yeah,
So New Year, New Me crowd, and
yeah, yeah.
you know,
I don't I love them. I'm glad that they're going in. I honestly just say just stick with it and just keep going. Don't give up. Um, but yeah, it's always interesting to see.
well, everybody starts somewhere, and there are people that I've known. They've started in a January and they've kept it going, because they found the discipline, and something along the way motivated them to keep that discipline and keep it going. But in my experience, it's usually the people that do the best are people that get with the coach and get some direction. And then, even after they get done with coaching, they may be like, do like a 6 week check in every so often, and you know keep the ball rolling. But I mean, man, we're all human. I'm guilty of it. I've worked out my whole life, but I mean, I've been divorced and gone through stresses in life, and man, it's easy to kind of like replace this positive thing with something negative, right? Like,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
if you're not taking care of your mental health. So that's where the community aspect comes in.
yeah,
You have guys or girls that you go in and you enjoy, like, kind of like hanging out and socializing. That's what I find so powerful with the club, that Oak, because we have a whole bunch of people that come in, and we have like a fantasy football league that we've been doing for,
yeah.
man, it's 10 years now. We've been doing this fantasy football league. And it's like we'll have like last year we had a couple new guys, first time in the fantasy football league, and they're still coming to the gym. They don't know
Yeah.
anybody, but they're coming to the gym and they're talking smack the whole time.
That's awesome. That community is solid. That okay. I've had a few guys come to the clinic from your gym. It's a solid group. So you guys are doing something special there. I love it.
Man, I'm glad you're part of it.
Yeah, no, I love going there. It's we've had some good group workouts there, and I have my NP next door. She's asking, I didn't, I want the invite. I want to go. So
Yeah,
so we got another crowd coming next Wednesday.
love it.
So it'll be a lot of fun. So last couple questions before I let you go. As you have seen a lot of people obviously come through your gym. We talked about the newbies that come in, the new year, new me group. How do you see, or what's some of the things you tell people that are getting started or that aren't seeing the growth or are having trouble getting to the next level? What do you tell some of those folks to either stay encouraged, or if they're like, hey man, I'm counting my macros, that's good, I'm getting sleep, you see me in here 4 times a week, what do you tell some of those folks to keep them motivated?
Oh, I usually ask people, like, what's your why? Like, why are you here? You know what I mean? Uh, and if you have a powerful why, that's a great starting point. I think a lot of people show up because they're feeling pressure from their spouse or from friends, and they don't really care that much about it, right? And so people
Hmm.
in the gym community, there's three reasons why people, you know, come in. It's usually, like, health, like they may have like high blood pressure or cholesterol or something like that. Aesthetics, and then performance, right? So those are the three. And if someone's like an athlete or they're doing a marathon, like I mentioned with my other client, you know, those objective things, whenever you're trying to reach a goal, those can help a lot, And if that's not if you don't have that, I mean, I'll tell people, I'll try to encourage people, like, look, we'll create that, like, plan a trip, you know what I mean? And then let's set,
Hmm.
it's obviously not doing a physique show, right, to that extreme, but like, let's create like some personal, accountability where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try to, you know, maybe get this weight or this body fat, you know, by this date, and that can help really push people a little bit, so they're cons-
Some goals in
yeah,
there. Yeah.
they're consistently showing up. That's the problem that I see with most people is most people with the gym and with the nutrition, unless they're like, they have a strong why. Most people are consistently inconsistent. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Well, you've obviously built a gym, that has a great culture, has a great vibe. And before I wrap up here, I kind of want to ask you one question we're going to ask all of our guests here, and it's simply, when you're in a tough moment, what's the thing you tell yourself to maintain that game day mindset?
Uh, well, uh, great question. Something that I've always told myself throughout my life is like, no matter what, it could always be worse, and just kind of having that attitude of gratitude. Uh, because I mean, I think like most people, I've had some difficulties through my life, and you know, I have some close friends of mine that are like in 12 step. They're like in AA, and it's interesting talking to them. Uh, you know, because they'll go to these meetings and they'll I'll hear these stories of people saying like, "Oh, I'm this poor me, this victim mentality," and then they go to a meeting
Mm-hmm.
and they talk to someone that's got it 10 times worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
That's
goes
true.
back to the community aspect of it, right? And having a solid community of friends to where it's like, whenever you are going through some challenges, it could always be worse, and if you're able to kind of have that perspective, it makes you grateful for these little things that you have that
Right.
somebody may not have, and that can help you kind of get through that storm. You know what I mean? That's what's helped me the most, and that it could always be worse mentality.
Man, attitude of
So,
gratitude. That's we've had some good conversations here the last since few months, or since I've known you, and it's I, I I've had a rough 2 years as well, right? And it's been, if you wake up every morning with that kind of, hey, thank you for waking me up. Thank you for giving me the
and
opportunity
yeah,
to screw up
yeah,
again. Let's just go.
yeah,
Let's just start
yeah,
there. I have the opportunity to do great things, but I have the opportunity to screw up again. But I have that opportunity, right? So that is an amazing mindset. If we could keep that going, because you're right. You'll walk around kicking rocks all day, upset about something, and next thing you know, you're talking to somebody and you're like, whoa, hey man,
yeah.
this guy's
Little
got it
perspective.
much better, much worse than you. Yeah, little
Yeah,
perspective. Oh man. Well, I appreciate your time,
yeah,
Wes Simon, my brother from another
yes, sir.
mother, and really loved having you on here. And is there any social media or any place we can connect with you other than Oak Fitness that you wanna let people know about?
Um, yeah, I mean, I have a an Instagram page. It's Simon Says Oak. If someone wants to message me on there, but the gym Instagram page is great. Yeah, either one of those. I'm not the biggest social media guy, but I love uh, I love coaching. Not just fitness, but just helping people that are going through it. Because I've had a lot of trials and friends that have helped me along the way. You know what I mean? And so I want to pay
Hmm.
that forward. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it
Oh
comes
yeah.
across. It
Thank you,
comes
bro.
across, man. Yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for being on here. And thank you anyone who's listening. Thank you all for listening to us on our second podcast here. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's building something of their own. This is just the beginning. And remember, every day is game day. Thank you all.
You're
Thank you,
welcome,
Bess.
brother.